Hi. I thought I'd just do a little video because look, because it might help. Frankly, I'm not an expert in IT. Absolutely not. I only know some of the basics of this particular program, but I'd recommend OneNote. Maybe not for this TMA or for the next one, but certainly for the EMA and for our dissertations. I got into using it recently over the last year or so, and it's really, really good. Just for those of you who haven't used it before, it's imagine a large old-fashioned lever arch file, all of your notes, any scribblings, lecture notes you may have taken, cut and paste ideas, photocopies, you name it, photographs of journal articles, or maybe something you found in an archive somewhere. All of that stuff crammed into a lever arch file. Now imagine the digital version of that. So, if you went into the old-fashioned Woolies or Wilkinson or some high street store and you bought some of those paper dividers, OneNote does the same thing, and you can see it appears this way. And sometimes it has different appearances depending on what device you're looking on, whether you're on a phone or whether you're on a tablet or a computer. But I'm using this and looking at this on a normal laptop, just a normal laptop that runs off a Windows program. So depending on your device, it might appear slightly differently. Anyway, so I'm just going to give you an overview of why this is valuable. So this is the TMA from TMA2. I know we're not meant to speak about TMAs in detail, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to keep this quite brief. But it's just to help other people on the course. So there's the essay. To what extent does Barry Ray's study of the Bleen take sufficient account, blah, blah, blah. We all know that. And you can see the date there. So this is when this was created. I'm going to zoom in and out so you can see more clearly. I created a table, and then I cut and paste photographs of screenshots of sections of books that might have been relevant. I pasted in sections here of notes and page numbers and so on of books that might have been valuable. If I scroll down, these are sections that I wanted to edit at a later stage. And so all of my notes and highlights and all that scruffy stuff that might fit inside a normal lever arch file, I put it inside this folder. And then what that enabled me to do is to come up with a really decent hierarchy of evidence so that I could decide what I was going to keep and what I wasn't. So that when I go through that sifting process that we all reach, it just makes it a bit quicker. Now, initially, you might think this seems like an awful lot of work for a little gain for a single assignment, but gradually, as a combination of all the assignments we've worked on, it really will. I can see it going to be really valuable when it comes to the dissertation in the future. So I thought I might as well just share. I learned something really useful today that I figured might help. So if I just give you a quick overview, I've got these are links and hyperlinks, and you'll see along the side. If I go to the TMA prep, you can see I've got all of these. These are links to PDFs along the side. If I click on one of these, it gives me a hyperlink, and I've got loads of page numbers and PDFs and journal articles and websites and things that are relevant. And I've got loads of key authors by here. Some of this is just cut and paste sections of my notes or maybe something I found from an ebook. And it goes on. So you'll see there are lots and lots of notes and links and so forth. Now, it's really useful for things like creating and planning your essay. So there's an essay plan there. And then there's an essay plan 2 by here. If I just scroll in, you can see it in a bit more detail. And I started color coding and so on. Things I was going to use, things I wasn't going to use, and so forth. So I've got different sections. I was going to have a section of my essay here, and if I just scroll up, because it'll probably be a bit clearer, I had the sections of my essay along here where you can see my mouse moving, and then this was evidence. So evidence 1, this was source 1, source 2, source 3. For those who can't see that clearly, because it's probably a bit small at the moment, just because the scale of it, it's a bit awkward showing you the whole thing. So source 1, and then if I zoom out, you can see I had source 2 and source 3, and that was quite useful for me being able to get a balance of what I was going to use and what I wasn't going to use for this particular section. So this was a bit where I discussed a definition of broader social economic occurrences in the Victorian period. Anyway, right. So why this OneNote could be quite valuable to you, because I've discovered this tonight, which is useful. I don't want to zoom in too much here because obviously I don't want to be accused of sharing ideas and all of us plagiarizing. This is more about OneNote and why it might be quite valuable. It could suit some of you. Some of you might look at it and think, yuck, not for me. I don't blame you. But at the same time, once you're converted, you think, actually, this is really useful. I can use this on the go. I can use this anywhere. I didn't have any paper. This is all electronic. So there are values to it. I know it's quite nice to scribble things down and write things down sometimes. I love doing that. But there is sometimes there's a really good purpose for this. So there's the TMA, there are my notes. I'm following a very similar plan to the one I showed you for TMA 3. And this is related to, there is a brief there, and I just did a thing where I condensed it into keywords and phrases along here. I'm deliberately keeping it quite small, so we're not going into too much detail and sharing and plagiarizing. So I've got my essay plan along here. I've got the same different sections. I've already written an essay, by the way, but I went to my tutor and she said, I didn't show her the essay straight away, but this was a few weeks ago, but then she sort of insisted that I followed a really rigid plan. So I thought I ought to just stick to what's been working recently. So then if we just take an example of Emsley's writing, Crime, Police and Penal Policy, CPP overview, and I've got different sections. I might make it a little bit bigger. So I've got different sections, and these are different things that I think are relevant. So these are some of like highlighted notes or where he's pointed towards other authors. And so some of these are like summaries and my paraphrases of information that I think is quite useful. So you might be able to see these codes along the side. I've got like a triangle here, a yellow one, a green triangle, a blue triangle, and so on. A different tutorial, I'll put a link in there, but a tutorial for somebody, some nerd I found online teaching you properly, an IT expert, not me, but an IT expert showing you how to use OneNote properly. I'll put a link in our chat so you can see it as well. But then I discovered these, they're called tags. So if I go into here, if I go to home, when I'm on one of my pages, I happen to be on a page here looking at Emsley in detail, and I've decided to create a load of tags. So I've got theoretical debate, patterns of crime by here, Whig interpretation, influential philosophers, state versus private sector, philanthropy, and this is state expansion, judicial attitudes to crime, change over time. So things I would like to sort of help me make sense of this. Obviously, the categories you use could be totally different. It depends on what our personal objectives are for the assignment, and you might not even be doing crime. But the theory could apply to any of the topics that we're studying. So this is why it's useful, because you'll see that I've got this code by here, and I literally highlighted, and then I clicked on one of these, one of the relevant ones. In this case, this was change over time. I clicked on that, and then one of those little symbols appear, right? Now, this is why it's useful. This is the main reason why I'm sharing a video right now, because I found this earlier and I thought, whoa, that's awesome. That could save a lot of hassle for many people. I then can create a summary of that. And the link, the video, I'm going to put the link to some expert online showing you how to do tag summaries and so on. It's probably the best place to go. But you go to your find tags, and along here, I tell it to tell me to create a summary page. So I made a new page by here just by clicking something like that. I'm going to delete that, so I don't need it. So I'm just going to delete this. I don't need that page. It's just to show you how I did it. So I created a new page because I didn't want to override all the information on here. So I created a new page, and then I told it to summarize all of these tags that are linked to keywords in my quotes and my summaries and sections and different authors that I want to go to. And now it looks a bit like this. Change over time, but make sure my mouse isn't moving. Change over time, and you can see they're all grouped together. Influential philosophers, they're all grouped together. Judicial attitudes, all of those notes are grouped together. It's early days, I've only just started to use it, but I thought I might as well share it. And patterns of crime, and then state expansion, state versus private funding, philanthropy, that would have been, and theoretical debate, and so on. So these are the debates relating to significant academics and so on, and a little bit about Whig interpretation. So just to summarize, this is OneNote. This is what I use for planning assignments and so on. It's really, really valuable. I would definitely learn to use it if you haven't already. And forgive me if any of you are very knowledgeable about this. I'm not. I'm just sort of trying to share some ideas with some other people studying history, why this could be quite valuable. You can turn this to any subject, any topic. It's absolutely valuable. So for any of us in the future, most of us that will be, who are going to study write the dissertation. It's a lot of work to deal with, huge volumes of information. This is brilliant. It can help you keep it all in one place. It requires a bit of time, quite a lot of effort to get it up and going, but once you know how to use it and you're relatively familiar, you don't have to be an expert. I'm definitely not, but once you just need to know all you need, once you have the basics, essentially, that is such a useful tool. So I can highly recommend OneNote for helping you plan your assignments.